I'm Steve with a Z. We are going to talk today with Dan Passe of Nissan USA, who I met last night at the new Z reveal. But we've got a lot more information to talk about today. Let's get started. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk with me. I really appreciate it. Let's tell everybody exactly who you are and what you do.
My name is Dan Passe. I am the Nissan US Director of Product Communications. So the Chief Product Spokesman, I guess, would be one of the ways to describe me.
And so it's your job to take this car to market from a product perspective, right? To get the marketing out there and to
a certain extent. I mean, I think the biggest thing I did, and in my team, I'm backed by an amazing team of people, and we were the folks that actually revealed the vehicle yesterday. So all of the work that went into revealing the vehicle, all of the Times Square photo shoot we had last night in the middle of the night, all of that was done by my team, and I'm very honored to be a part of it. From a personal standpoint, also for me, it was a culmination of 2.5 years of effort. I spent about 3 years in Japan, been back about a year, also in a product communications role. So I've actually been involved with this car for years, and trying to make sure that number one, it comes out, and number two, that we get the word out the best that we possibly can.
Well, I know that you've also dealt with some idiosyncrasies, if you will, in the public place, the space where the car has been released, if you will, on various forums, or there's just been a lack of information, and people tend to seem to take that personally. And I'll tell you, I'm a 25-year veteran of the Z community. I've been on forums since 1998, which, if you owned a 240, I'm still a new guy. But I've been around the scene for a very long time, mostly in the Z32 community. And I'll tell you, when the 350 came out, there was no information. I was at the Z-Con when that car wasn't like a formal car release, but it was when it was leaked that it was coming out. And they gave us a brochure, which I have on the shelf back there. There was no information. They showed a door handle, and you guessed. You guys built a car and took it out on the road and showed it off, and now it's like people seem confused. And I've spent a lot of time talking about the Toyota Supra and that it's the BMW relationship with Toyota, and I understand the dynamics of the auto industry as it sits today and why you have to have those partnerships, and I get it, but I think you should be applauded for going on your own. I saw a comment today that ticked me off on one of the Z forums. It said it's a recycled Infinity motor. And I said, what the hell are you talking about? First off, Nissan's Infinity, what's the word recycled mean? Can you talk about a little bit of that and what you have had to go through to get to where you are today?
Wow. You're asking a very big question. The Z is not a car per se. We have an extensive product lineup. Most recently, you all have seen that we've had one heck of a product resurgence, starting with Versa, then Sentra, Rogue, refreshed Armada, refreshed Kicks, most recently Pathfinder and Frontier, and as well as our upcoming Aria EV crossover. So you're really looking at this incredible product resurgence from the company. But what was not necessarily missing, but what makes Nissan is really the Z. There are a series of articles out. I encourage everybody to just get on the web, start Googling Z. There's a bunch of great articles out quoting our spiritual head, our chief product specialist, Hiroshi Tamura, and Tamura-san, who's a close friend of mine, really did fight for this vehicle to exist, and really did his passion went through the company, and he really brought it to life. It goes beyond a car. It's our passion. It's as was written in the press release, and I actually wrote this. It's our passion in four wheels. I am personally a Z owner as well. It's not a company lease. I do own a Z, and I've been a part of the community for a while as well. Not as long as you, but certainly a while as well. And it's funny that you talk about the 350Z. If you look back to the there were two prototype vehicles created. There was one in 1999 and then one for 2001. If you look at the photos of the driving of the 2001, I was actually driving that prototype vehicle. We did the photo shoot at our test track in Chandler, Arizona. It's still around, by the way. It's in our global design center in Atsugi, Japan.
Really?
So it's part of who we are. If you go down into our gallery in our headquarters, there's a big gallery area. You'll see a heritage section, and you'll see the Z there very well represented. And I think it goes beyond just a vehicle. It's really our spirit.
Yeah, it really is. And so you've described something that's kind of interesting. And if at any point I ask you something you can't get into, I respect that, because we're in the middle of a marketing product launch and there's just things that are embargoed. Like, I'm not going to ask you what the turn to lock ratio is in the steering wheel. Like, I know you can't talk about that. But can you talk a little bit about how hard you had to fight for the car anyway in Japan? Because I don't think a lot of people understand. You guys, I feel like you have to make this car, but I feel like you don't, because financially it can't make sense. And if it does, it barely does.
Yeah. That's a good question. Basically, if you look at the marketplace today, the biggest movers, obviously, other than full-size trucks here in the US, but globally, is really crossovers, 2- and 3-row crossovers. That is really where the market is. You're getting into electrification in certain areas. But if you look at where the market is and where it's going, you're still in that crossover and SUV space. It's not just about a profit per se, or it's not just about for a business reason, but sometimes you have to do it spiritually. Yep. That means so much to a company. And I think with Z, you saw so many folks in Japan and in the US and around the world really come together in the Nissan organization to bring this car to life. And it's an honor and a thrill, actually, to be here, to actually have it here in New York, which was the reveal of the Z in 1969, October 22nd, 1969, at the Pierre Hotel, just near Central Park, where the original car was revealed in the States. And it's always been a very U.S. heavy and U.S. centric vehicle.
Yeah, it has. It's interesting. Like, a lot of my audience, they're younger than we are. They grew up watching Initial D. They were into it's the JDM scene, and the Z often gets left behind in the JDM scene. And so one of the reasons for my entire existence is to point out the fact that when the Z32 came aboard here in the US, it knocked the socks off everybody. Nobody had ever seen anything like that.
And the Z32 was an unbelievable car. This new one actually picks up some of the design cues of the Z32, especially in the taillights. It was a car that came out that was just so exotic, and you sort of looked at yourself and you went, wow. I mean, and also if you look at what was happening in that market at the time, you had the Mark IV Supra and the Z32 and the FD.
Yeah, it was the FD. So the Z was first, came out in 90 came out in 89 as a 90 model. The Mark IV, and this is something I talk a lot about on the things that I do. The Mark IV came out years later, so they had time to benchmark it. Much like, and quite frankly, it was a little bit quicker. It stopped a little bit faster. Of course. Okay, yeah, that's what happens in the automotive business. One of the things I'd like to talk about is the Mark V Supra. You had time to benchmark that. Sure. Did you guys do that? Did you even talk about it? And there you go. And so a lot of the questions.
That's the question. Do we? Yes. Our product planning department. First of all, I think just when you develop a vehicle, you don't develop a vehicle in a vacuum.
I didn't get into I didn't want to press Dan for what other cars they benchmark. Obviously it's going to be probably the Porsche Cayman and some of those lower end models from some, perhaps the Lexus LC. There's a couple of other cars that are out there that they probably benchmarked, and probably benchmark cars that were lighter and not as fast, but had a certain emotional feel that they invoke. I would imagine that was part of the process too. Again, unconfirmed. We didn't talk about that. I didn't want to push him to talk about things that he was uncomfortable talking about. I don't think that is the purpose of A, his position, B, his time with me, and I didn't want to abuse the privilege of being able to speak with him. So I didn't press. But what we can do is pontificate and listen to what he said, read a little bit between the lines, and try to put the puzzle together ourselves. That's certainly acceptable.
If you're going for a mid-size sedan, you benchmark against other mid-size sedans. If you're going with a crossover like a Rogue, we had RAV4s and CRVs around and Fords. I mean, it's very much part of the development process of any new vehicle. So there's a lot of folks that, did you benchmark the Supra? Well, the Supra was certainly a vehicle that everybody drove. I personally drove it. We have one at Nissan North America in Franklin, Tennessee. I took it home for a little bit. I know we have looked at other vehicles slightly above and slightly below where we are. There's a couple of performance vehicles out there. So yes, it's not done in a vacuum. You have to understand what's out in the marketplace, understand what customers like, what they don't like. We also obviously benchmarked our current vehicles, and certainly with as many Zs that are out there and as many Z fanatics and fans that are out there, certainly lots of opinions. And I know that that was also looked at. So it was a whole world that it took to create what you're seeing today.
I mean, I think the opinions are really important. I think you guys deserve a ton of credit for a couple things that I haven't seen people talk about. One, you actually stayed true to your prototype, unlike the Supra. They marched out the FT1, which was unbelievable to look at. That car
was cool.
And then they show up with, with what they showed up with. We don't need to trash talk it.
I actually don't trash talk it. I've driven the car, spent some time with it. I've driven it both on the road and on the track, and it's a wonderful car. It really is.
I'm sure that it is.
It's a different type of car. I drive a Z every day, so it was kind of fun to take the Supra out. I've again able to do it both on the road and on the track. It really is. It's a wonderful car. I don't think that there's any negatives, and I think that that's the most exciting part. If you look at the performance of vehicles today, it's outrageous. We are truly living in the golden age of vehicles when you can buy a mid-sized sedan that can literally destroy muscle cars from the 60s on 0 to 60 times and quarter mile times. When you look at these performance envelopes and what vehicles are capable of these days, and these crazy, I remember 5 seconds 0 to 60 was fast. Now,
that was
mid-sized sedans can do that right nowadays, right? So it's so exciting, and I think that as a sports car fan and as a car fan, I always grew up as just a car person. I'm actually from just outside of New York City, and going to cruise nights, it was all American muscle cars back then, Mustangs, Camaros, and stuff. And then you sort of worked your way through and ended up at Nissan for me with a Z car. I think that right now we're truly living in the golden age of performance. But and now you also have electric, and so it troubles me sometimes. I appreciate the Z enthusiasm. I love it. Even when I'm being sometimes maligned a little bit, trying to get out there in the forums, I understand, but I appreciate everybody's passion, and I really do, and I think that we all do. But what a great time to be a customer! What a great time to be a sports car fan! Unbelievable time, and does it get any better? I mean,
no, I don't know
where it's going to go next.
That's a 2-hour conversation. Like, I have a nearly 1,000 horsepower Z32 sitting in my garage that now would get smoked by any number of Teslas. So it's a strange time. But the other thing I think you guys need to be applauded for, in addition to having stayed true to the prototype, because you did the prototype justice. You marched out what you said you were going to bring, and you brought it. Is that it is Nissan pure and true and through and through. It's a Nissan product. It's not, you didn't have to develop something. You weren't using maybe a Renault motor that I don't even think they have anything, but in any case, it's a Z car. I think the other unfair knock, and I get why people make it, is that it's a Z34. And I saw today, somebody said officially, I guess, that the chassis code internal there is Z34. It's not a Z35.
Yes.
These are the semantics that don't matter, because here's the deal. I've probably put 15,000 miles on a 2011 GTR. I've got a 15 Nismo out in my driveway. I've got 2 other Z32s. I can tell you the 370 base model handles amazingly for the price point. It's amazing. And so if you guys can improve upon that, and what you've said is, 30% better handling, and I know you can't quote stats and all that, but 30% better handling, 15% 0 to 60 time improvement. I mean, if just run the numbers on that, if you benchmark the Supra and I can line up at a drag strip with the 9-speed automatic with launch mode engaged in the new Z car and beat that Supra by a nose, Z owners win. That's what we want. That's what I want. I want this car to be.
I look forward to getting you a vehicle at some point soon, and you to put that to the test.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'd be way up for that.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, so the question I know about the chassis code. Yes, it does remain Z34. However, it's been remarkably updated.
You want to talk about that?
Well, there's a lot of torsional stiffness. They've redone the suspension front and back, new engine, new transmission, new bodywork, new interior, increased connectivity. Obviously, our new instrument panel, center stack, and display. You've pretty much gone through the vehicle. It's over 80% all new. I mean, when you think about it. So if you look at the architecture of the vehicle, the Z34. Which had been updated throughout its life, also is just got a massive update again.
Did you guys talk to any of the aftermarkets, like some of the bigger ones like AMS, or anybody about the upgradability that you wanted to see the car have in the aftermarket? Has that been a conversation?
Nothing formal is probably the best thing that I could say.
Yeah.
I do know that we do have those conversations. We do work with SEMA. They are the marketing organization that puts together the big show and pretty much the premier representation of this group. We also work very closely with ZCon and the ZCCA. We're actually going to ZCon with the blue car here. We'll be there this week. But yeah, we have a lot of these conversations. I mean, of course, it's a big part of it. I mean, a big part of Z culture is making the car your own.
That's it. And that's what, again,
that is really important. And our engineers, Tamura-san, our designers, all of Nissan really does keep in mind that, a Nissan it's our passion, but it's also your passion. And in many cases, you want to, make it yours in your own way to do your thing, whether it be a wheel change, a color change, accessories change, or, we've seen obviously some crazy Z cars where we know Chris Forsberg rather well. So he will put in massive engines and we know a lot of different folks throughout. But yes, we do work with them and are open to talk with them often, actually.
Well, I saw last night at the reveal. I saw Larry Chen there, and the Hoonigans there.
He was our main shooter, but yes, we know Larry quite well.
Yeah,
we know Forsberg quite well. We know the guys in Chicago well that you were mentioned before, the AMS guys, and obviously all of our Z community that we know quite well, and we're excited.
I'm excited, and people should be excited and stop nitpicking things, because here's the deal. You stayed true to the brand. You stayed true to your prototype. You gave us a turbo motor, which no one's talking about. Like, hello, people, it's a twin turbocharged motor. You could turn the boost up on E85, make 500 to the tire. That's been done in the Q60. That's a lot of power, people. And for $40,000, and even if it goes up to 50, with adding on options and whatnot, that swings us into that. You told me last night in another interview you and I did briefly, you laid out the packages for me. Can you succinctly lay those out? Because
there's only one package, and it's basically you go from a sport to a performance, which basically it gives you front and rear spoilers, larger brakes, larger wheels. It gives you a larger screen in the interior. I mean, there's a series of updates, not updates, but upgrades if you go from one to the other. And I know, yes, the mechanical limited slip diff. I've gotten everybody's report that you would really like the limited slip on the sport model, the base model. I have made your requests known. I don't know if anything is going to happen about it, but at least we certainly have made that request. But it's really, I guess it would be sort of the one that enthusiasts want. If you want something that's completely turnkey from Nissan.
And so
however, there's something to be said for the sport model, which is again our standard entry level model, which will be starting around $40,000. You do get the 6-speed manual, you do get the 400 horsepower engine, and you really do get a lot of the refinement. And then I'm very excited about what your viewers and the forum members and all the folks on the net, once they get their hands on this car, what they do with it. It's very exciting. I mean, I love it. I mean, I look forward. I go to Cars and Coffee quite often. A lot of Z's there. I look forward to seeing all of the posts and seeing what people do with this car. I mean, to make it their own.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So I also read something that no one else is talking about, that there's a limited proto edition that you're going to make 240 models, apparently.
Correct. 240 of them. It starts with a performance. You start with the performance model, which is, again, the rear spoiler. That's the easiest way to tell. Performance models have rear spoilers. I am sure our friends out there will come up with a million different spoiler options, and I look forward to that as well. And then you get essentially a very similar color scheme to the Proto that we debuted in September of 2020. I will call it a very lightly disguised version of the production car. But that was such a hit with the yellow and black interior, yellow painted calipers, very much an appearance package. So there will be 240 of those brought into the U.S. Some folks may call it a launch edition. It's similar to that. It's sort of the first run. And that will be very limited. I know a lot of folks are trying to figure out how to pre-order these things. And I wish I could give you a great answer right this second. You need to go to nissanusa.com and sign up for more information. We also ask that you talk to your local dealer about what they may or may not be getting. We do not, as far as I know, have allocation set, but I do not know that that's a different department. I apologize to the viewers here. I do want to give you as much information. The best way to do it is to go online, also to talk to your local dealer. I'm sure everybody does know one, and I know that they're super, super excited to get a hold of this car in the spring.
Oh yeah. I mean, and if you're wanting to get an allocation and you're wanting to buy one of these cars as early as possible, stay tuned to my YouTube channel, because that's some of the information I'll gladly pass along. I just did a video on how to set yourself up for success to get an early allocation of any car, and some tips and tricks to do that. And that will apply no matter what you're buying anyway. I hope, just my own opinion, is that you guys can get past the chip shortage, do a little bit of a flood to the dealers to where you've got, units on the ground so that they're enticed to not mark up the car. And, we also know, for people watching that don't know, it's illegal for you guys to tell your dealers, hey, don't sell over MSRP. You can't do that. So,
right. So I think most people know this, but we wholesale vehicles to dealers. I'm sure with your YouTube channel, you've talked about how the structure works. So we wholesale vehicles to dealers. At that point, it's really on the dealer. It's a manufacturer suggested retail price. So I think we all wish that everybody gets the vehicle that they want at the price they want, but it's very difficult to control centrally, as you just pointed out.
So it starts. Let's just recap, because I promised you 30 minutes. You're exhausted. I want to get you out of here.
No, we're good. Go ahead.
You got the base model at 40. Then you got the sport package on top of that. Do you have
performance? We're calling it performance. So it starts. And I apologize for those, because I know that we've done base and sport and touring and in previous vehicles, it could get a little confusing.
No, that's okay. That's what we're here for.
370. In this one, it's very, very simple. It's literally two models. It's your standard, your entry level model, which we call sport, and then there's your what you would have used to call sport model, we call performance. And then on top of that is the limited edition proto spec, which is 240 units.
Okay, so the sport is the 40K. Do we have a number for performance yet, or no?
We do not. No, closer to on sale date. Obviously, spring of 22. As soon as that's set, we will put out another press release. I'll make sure to contact you so you can spread the word. But we will make sure to release all the pricing as soon as it's available.
I want you guys to not be shy about the 40 grand. I've got people on my various channels trying to compare this car to the 86 that just came out. It's no comparison. You can't compare this to the WRX. It's compared to a couple of different cars, one of them the Mark V. And sure, you're hitting a target with 400 horsepower for $40,000 that is unheard of.
It's a great combination. It's a great place to be. Again, I still think that any competition in this field is amazing. I mean, you're starting again from such a high performance benchmark. Only wishing Toyota best for the 86, Subaru with the WRX, Toyota with the Supra, and everybody out there. I think, again, it's a golden age of performance. I think we're just honored to be here and really back in the conversation. I know that the 370Z was a little long in the tooth, having first debuted in 2009. But it's very, very exciting to be back here with such a proposition, 400 horsepower, 40 grand. I think it's going to be a success, and I really look forward to people driving it. I want to get everybody behind the wheel as quickly as possible, and I know that everybody does. But we're really looking at spring of 22 right now. I think you've mentioned some of the supply chain issues out there. And there's a lot of steps to be taken. It's not as easy as just flipping a switch. And I think what's also important for the viewers is to understand that while folks may, some of the stuff I think I've seen online has talked about the car as kind of a parts bin car. It's really not. There are existing components that went into this car. That is true, but it's how it all works together. Tamura-san talks all the time about how the Z is a dance partner. It's not just a straight line machine. It's not just a numbers machine, but it feels like it's a part of you. You feel like you're dancing with it. And yes, he does do the steering wheel dance, if you will. And I think what's important here is that, yes, there are pieces that people will say, well, it came off of this car or it's shared with this car. But it's such a cohesive package that it's pretty staggering. I will give you a personal story here. I was actually able to drive some of our early engineering prototypes about 2 weeks ago. I drove both the manual and automatic. And as I've stated before, I'm a current 370Z owner. So I can literally do a back-to-back without an issue. I was able to drive these at fairly high speeds on a closed course. It's remarkable. It's remarkable. I mean, how the engineers were able to really make this cohesive, very well-balanced package. And the car really does dance. And I think that everybody is going to love it. I mean, really. And if somebody wants to make 600 horsepower or what, I mean, please, we were excited about that. But I think they're going to be impressed about what you get on the showroom floor.
Well, you got me excited. I'm actually mostly curious, oddly enough, about that 9-speed automatic with the launch control. That's not being talked much about either, except people say Jayco are making it. I think it's a Mercedes-Benz sourced unit.
No, but okay.
Okay. What can you talk? Do you want to talk about what it is?
It's through. I believe it's through Jatco. Okay. I will check.
Yeah, I think that is the case. That was just released publicly today or yesterday afternoon. That's what it was. Right. And and then of course all the 6-speed guys are talking about the slave cylinder. I imagine you guys took a look top to bottom at some of those.
That transmission has certainly been looked at top to bottom. We had to change the synchronizers, change a little bit of the tweak on it a little bit, obviously to work well with the engine, and same with the 9-speed automatic. The automatic did need obviously some tweaking, some fettling, if you will, to work well with the engine. And there's still final engine calibration, as you know, having been around. Calibration never ends. Our prototypes have been spotted in camo, for a few months now, and there are powertrain engineers doing that final calibration all over. So very excited about that. You may see them a little less cloaked because the car is obviously revealed now, but they're working on that right now. I think what's really exciting is, with the twin turbo engine, is you have a relatively flat torque curve from about, I don't have the number right in front of me, but you're looking at 1,800 to 5,600 RPM. I mean, so you're really looking at a long and wide flat curve, torque curve. And while the previous Z had 7 speeds, which worked very well for the naturally aspirated engine, when you start looking at the twin turbo engine, the 9 speeds gives you those steps that are needed and that additional sort of the gearing that really works. And having driven the vehicle, I will tell you, it works. It really works. And I've drove that and the Supra back to back. And I think it'll be a worthy competitor. I really do.
Okay, so you're on record as a worthy competitor. We'll have to wait to see.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't put myself in your seats, but I look forward to you doing a back-to-back check and seeing also how it feels. I mean, I think that's a very important part of the car. I mean, you get going from Supra to a new Z. It's a completely different feeling. The way you sit in the car, where the console is, where the control and the switch gauges are, the length of the hood, your sight lines. It's really a matter of personal preference. So I can't tell you it's better, but I think it's certainly a worthy competitor.
Well, I was at the reveal last night. I drove from Virginia to New York City and back, actually, because we couldn't find a hotel and we just wanted to get back. And I just bought a Kia Carnival, and the steering wheel of the Kia Carnival looked almost exactly like the one that I saw last night. So I'm going, well, maybe they benchmarked the steering. I don't know. But in any case, you guys nailed the interior. I think it's going to be a great car. And I'm not just saying it as a Nissan fan. I think it's going to be, as an automotive fan, it's going to be a terrific entry. It's great to see you guys back fighting the good fight. I will tell you, as a Z32 guy who's driven the Mark IV Supra in both stock form, very mildly modified form, and high horsepower form, there is no competition between. There was none at the time, and there wasn't one 5-6 years after the run ended in '96. Sure. And I think you guys have put yourself in a position to be the last great turbocharged Japanese sports car running on gasoline. I think that's where this goes, and I really hope that's the story you can tell. So
I only hope for the best. I hope that you and all the fans out there do get that chance in the spring to get one, or to drive one, or to experience it. And I look forward. I can't wait to hear what everybody thinks. And I'm only sorry that it's going to take as long as it is, but it's going to take as long as it is. That's just what I apologize for that. But I cannot wait to hear everybody's impression. I really think you're really going to appreciate this car. It's a Z. I mean, it's a Z. And when you look at it, the car looks like a Z. It couldn't be anything else. And then when you drive it, it's a Z. I mean, it gives you that feeling.
That's what we want. Dan, thank you so much for the time today.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I hope everybody is healthy and safe out there. And I cannot wait to see all of you, or to talk with all of you, and for you to experience the car. And I'm very excited, actually, again, tomorrow morning. So right now we're taping this here on a Wednesday evening. Thursday morning, I'm heading out to ZCon in Colorado Springs. We're taking one of the cars with us, and it's already on its way. I can't wait to see people's reaction. I mean, it's a car that you truly have to see to believe. I know that it's a little tough right now with limited COVID access to certain places, but we're going to do our best to get these cars out and on display, and really allow people to experience them the way that they're supposed to be experienced. And I thank you for taking the time to speak with me.
All right, so that's it for my conversation with Dan Passe of Nissan USA. He shed a lot of information and really distilled down a lot of information about the different package levels of the car, the trim levels. We talked about the Proto. I would urge you to go to the new nissanz.com. The other forum that's pretty popular is 400zclub.com. Find me on TikTok and go like or subscribe to this channel here if you want to know more about the new Z as we get closer and closer to the spring 22 release. I'm your guy. Dan and I will be keeping in communication, and as he knows more or can say more, I intend to put myself in a position to listen. I hope you will too. If you see him online, be nice to him, please. Be courteous to him. He doesn't have to do what he's doing. He's actually on the newzcar.com as himself. He'll take your questions. He'll answer your question. Listen, man, you guys go out there and be nice to the guy, will you? Go out there, ask your questions respectfully. If you don't like what's being said, keep it to yourself. Be respectful. You have a major automotive manufacturer with a product director hanging out in your forum. Be nice to him, please, okay? Be nice to each other. I'll see you guys later.